There's a new mod on Minecraft.
Yeah, with no visor on it.
Is that still a thing?
That is a thing. That is the thing in this house. That is my every waking moment.
Oh my gosh, that's the best thing ever. Minecraft, when I first saw it, I was like, this has got to be the most mind-numbing game ever. But then I saw all these adults streaming these elaborate roller coasters. I'm like, holy smokes. And yeah. I thought it was a kid's game, but apparently it's not.
Oh, it totally gets crazy. There's all these like parkour and, all this other fun stuff.
It's great. Well, and that's the other thing. I thought they didn't kill people. You kill zombies, right? You don't kill people.
You can't kill people. You get PvP, and they have like warring little houses, right? You got like floating islands, and you got to fight each other. It's chaotic. They got ones where you like drive around a cart, like a little go-kart ran, and the people are sitting there sniping poor kids as they're sitting there just jumping around. It's ridiculous.
Oh my gosh. Well, hey, that sounds like a lot of fun. I thought it was a cleaner game, but okay. Clearly, I've missed the boat on hearing the updates on all that good stuff. But you know what we could talk about, though, is why the mic is listening. Security heads. Shall we kick it off?
Let's do it.
I don't know if someone in the background there, I don't know if Higgs, if your kids want us to do it. Let's just do it.
The mic is listening.
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 Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to the Mike is Listening show. I am Sia, always on apparently always live streaming and never off. But hey, it's kind of fun to live stream. So if you've never done it before, I highly encourage you. Try it once. You'll love it. You'll get the bug. And next thing you know, you'll be sitting right next to me. So want to talk about this week podcast in the news. There were some really interesting stats that have come out from a podcast movement of last week, and Triton and the NPR and Edison Research have gotten together as they always do for their annual report on podcasting and the state of podcasting. This is actually a little bit older stat, but we're kind of like leveraging it still, which I found very fascinating. The top 4 ways of the 54% folks that discover podcasts, okay, they have found the top 4 ways of actually finding one another, because I get questions all the time of, well, what can I do to better market my podcast? Well, how do I look for podcasts that I'm interested in? I really want to hear about underwater basket weaving, and I cannot find it anywhere. How do I do it? So if you're curious, the top 4 ways is number 1, people search on the internet. So for those that have been talking about SEO and the importance of search engine optimization and using the right keywords to be found for those wonderful, engine browsers that will search for you. I'm not trying to say the Google, or let's just go with DuckDuckGo. I like them. They can search for you and find you on that. So 73%, that's a pretty huge number. That's how most people are found on the podcasts are found. Social media posts. So I love this one because we talk about finding the audience, right? Once you know who your audience is and who you're talking to, you will also know where they will reside in, right? So let's say, for example, your audience is business oriented individuals. You're going to want to look at LinkedIn, right? Now, let's say a TikTok video work for a LinkedIn audience? Maybe, maybe not. It just really depends. But really get to know your audience. Therefore, you can pick the social media platforms that you will focus on. You don't need to do all of them. It's hella too overwhelming unless you want to pay someone, of which obviously there's tons of agencies out there that can help you with social media engagement. The other one, Rex from the Fam Bam. Talk to your family. It's amazing to me how many times, despite what my family does, and most family, you think they're not really supporting or listening or recommending, but I promise you, when they're in the grocery store and they're talking about, oh yeah, Billy does a podcast, I assure you they're going to say, oh my gosh, my Mary does a podcast too, and it's about blah, blah, blah. So you'd be surprised how much family talks to each other, to others, to brag on each other about your amazing podcast. So they might not be listening to your podcast, but they are telling others about your podcast. So I guess it's a win-win for everybody. And of course, recommendations from other podcasters. And this includes the entire premise of the Mike is Listening show. We're all about promoting other podcasts because we feel very strongly. And when we say we, pretty much me, Sia, but also our company, Innovation Media Enterprises, strongly believes that podcasting is a great tool, great medium to build brand credibility, to grow brand engagement. And quite frankly, it's a lot of fun. And of course, if you perhaps want to leave a legacy of a little bit of who you are digitally, what better way than under podcasting and live streaming video and all that good stuff. So got a question for me? By all means, please. I would love to see if you agree or disagree if these numbers sound right to you, but 73% is really searching through the internet, and a lot of podcast directories can help you get there. And of course, SEO, I think ultimately will help you be found. And of course, social media engagement for sure, for sure. So for those that don't think they need social media, please, I strongly encourage you to think again. So on that note, I talked a lot. Today, we are welcoming today's featured wonderful guests, wonderful and awesome Nigel LeBlanc and Higinio Ochoa of the Cyber Warrior podcast and Cyber Warrior Network. Welcome, guys.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Long time no see.
Yeah, long time no see.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
You guys can't get rid of me. I swear to God.
We're really excited to be here. Something that you mentioned, like, so when we dropped the podcast like 2 weeks ago, right? Like it was surreal to see our podcast on like the Apple, the iTunes store and on Android. But to your point, family actually they're proud of that moment, right? And they've been sharing and talking about it. So I can definitely attest to how some of the stats and what you talked about there. It's pretty cool.
Well, I will say this, family will always support you in the context of, yay, we'll cheerlead you. But I promise you, do not rely on your family to keep your numbers up. They'll cheer you for that initial one or two launches. And after that, I mean, it's like whoosh. And then I've done so many family group texts. Guys, I'm dropping a really cool podcast. Hey, could you please slightly like love me a little bit? And I get like 0.1% response. Okay. So I'm not kvetching or anything. I mean,
I lucked out. My back in the day, I kept telling my mom.
Oh no! Hey.
Sorry. I was good. Like I was saying, my mom back in the day would do the same thing. Didn't listen. But mom, don't use Visa, dude. Visa's gonna be down. Hey, don't use MasterCard. Your MasterCards are gonna be down this week. Never listen. FBI bust down my door, and now she listens to everything. So. I was like, hey mom, check out this podcast, or you may get arrested tomorrow. She'll listen to it 5 times, share it with everybody. It's great.
Oh, so you threaten your family. I think I should probably start threatening my family. That'd be kind of cool, actually. Again, we were just talking about earlier about just hackers in general, and cybersecurity obviously is a very huge topic, and it's just a favorite topic of mine. I love to talk about it, and I love talking, infosec, cybersecurity, ransomware, everything. I'm just kidding. Full disclosure, last 2 weeks we've been talking about how to protect yourself and protecting your elderly family, friends. I had a girlfriend join me, Karen Rhodes, CT over at Hewlett Packard Enterprise, kind of helped give some guidance and pointers to look out. And here's a fun thing. I actually talked about this on a ransomware battleground, which you guys have been a guest of, my other podcast. Shout out Air Gap. Thank you. We were just talking about how cybersecurity and ransomware, the term, has gone mainstream. When you've got John Oliver from Next Week Tonight or Last Week Tonight, I keep forgetting.
Yes, Last Week Tonight. I know exactly what I saw that episode. And,
oh my gosh.
And the commercial at the end, hilarious.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, this is a PG. This is predominantly supposed to be a LinkedIn, but oh my gosh, who and why would you have a toy have an IP address? I don't understand.
Right.
Wi-Fi enabled? Like, wait, what? Bluetooth enabled? Why? Yeah. But okay, we're not going to go too much into that. But okay, I've been talking way too much because I'm so excited because I love you guys to death. So, Cyber Warrior Network. Can you help me understand what is it? Because I've heard of Cyber Wraith, and I'm super excited about talking about that. So what is Cyber Warrior Network? What's your purpose?
So our purpose is simple: to fill the gap for cybersecurity jobs. We are creating an ecosystem that brings all of the typically siloed kind of entities. So educators, employers, and people who are looking to get into cybersecurity. Right. So that's our goal. And we just happen to be doing it in a really fun way, which we can talk more about, which is our game Cyber Wraith, right? So for everybody out there, think of Cyber Wraith as the Call of Duty for ethical hackers, right? And so while you play the game, we validate your knowledge, skills, and abilities, and we match you up to real world job opportunities. And then we can do that with training as well. So that's us in a nutshell.
That is like the coolest thing, like gamifying your skills, applying it in terms of hacking. I mean, it's just totally cool. And I think it suits our more recent generations, right? So it's not like a standard, like, oh, I need to test you like in a proper exam. This is something where could it be someone like a beginner and you kind of assess their skills as a beginner? Is it something you can keep testing to see if you've progressed, or is it different each time? Help me understand what Cyber Wraith actually does.
Higgs, you want to take this one?
Yeah, so the magic there is the magic sauce of our company, right? And of course, we want you to start as early as possible, so that we can show you how much you've gotten better and all the little skills that you may need to improve on. Once you have your resume, you get a constant updated score telling you exactly where you're at and where you're hitting it. And hey, if you notice you're slacking on one spot, that kind of gives you a chance to up that. So,
that's
So to add to that, while the platform continuously does a skills gap assessment, right? And based on some of the tracking metrics that we have, if you go in and you redo some of the challenges, you can see your progression in terms of how quickly you got to the solution or to solve that actual mission or challenge. On top of the fact that we can build custom challenges, right? So out of the box, there's tons of content, right? But as you progress, either in your career or you want to specialize in something, we have the ability for employers and educators to use that as a way to discover talent and then also upskill. So it's a pretty cool platform, very powerful.
Oh man, I mean, I think it's so cool. I just want to send it to all my nieces and nephews and be like, check it out, learn, get in cybersecurity. I told you this 20 years ago, but I really didn't tell them 20 years ago because half of them didn't exist. But I get it. I get it. So, I mean, okay, so with your background with Cyber Warrior Network, and by the way, thank you for your service. I definitely appreciate all the hard work and then the dedication. So thank you so much. The Cyber Warrior podcast. So you launched that, and I'm so excited. Full disclosure, everyone. Our company does produce it for the Matt B Sports Podcast Network. Full disclosure, so slightly biased, but let's be honest, it's amazeballs. I think the show is amazing. So talk to me about your podcast. What was the story around the inception? Why did you guys want to start a podcast?
So we often have these conversations that we say, "Oh man, I wish we'd recorded this," right? Or engagement with people that have played the game or partners, right? And we felt that we had some good content to get out there, right? And we had some good stuff to tell people and to spread the word about what we're doing, right? Of course, one of the things that was so we did DEF CON last weekend, right? Mm-hmm. And we had tons of feedback, but one of the conversations we were having with one of our partners, and this went off like a light bulb, right, was the ability for someone who is looking for a cybersecurity job, and while they're in the interview, to be able to tell one of the missions that they've accomplished within our game as part of their kind of journey and experience, right? So going back to the question that you asked, why the podcast? I think it's timely because we're bringing together, we're operationalizing esports, and we're doing it in a way that could essentially change lives, right, and bridge this gap. And then from a technical perspective, Higgs can attest to this. There was a real need in the market for a platform and a game that was very realistic, and could deliver, and captivate the audience of both new cybersecurity professionals and people who've been in the industry for a very long time.
Wow.
And you got to put a capstone on that. Have you played any hacking games at all there, Sia?
No.
Have you not?
No.
Look, I've been a gamer my entire life. Do you like video games?
I love
Do you
games.
Okay. We know mechanics really well, right? You can skin a game 15 times. You see the same mechanics over and over. You're like, this is that, or this is that. And that's what I always feared that I would catch myself into, right? As a hacker, it's like, oh man, someone's gonna bring a game to me. But through just all the talking that we've had and all this conversations, technical side stuff that we've had, the game is almost exclusively made for hackers. I feel like when I first played it, I played it all weekend. I swore to God this was like, and I to this day do, that this was my dream. Like if you had a dream of what would a computer game be like, this is it. And so that's a big selling point to me. I tell all the hackers out there, I know you heard there's a new hacker game out, you immediately roll your eyes and you immediately say, oh, not again. This isn't a press button to hack. We have everything from 15-year-old girls excelling right off the bat, and we have veteran red teamers who can barely get that first couple missions off, right? Like it really does kind of scale.
So is that something where do you think hacking is evolving? So it's not so much cut and like a, what do you call it? Like you don't need the template, or not. I'm not saying don't need. It's not cookie cutter anymore. Do you find a lot of derivations? So you have to do a lot of like outside thinking. Is that where hacking is evolving to, or is it still the same premise? It's still the baseline is still same roots. I'm not a hacker, so I don't know.
No, not at all. The whole problem is that to be a hacker, you have to think outside the box. You have to have those creativities, and you got to have that way of thinking and kind of concealing it. If, however, you don't, then that makes it hard to monetize. And when everyone came in, tried to make information security fit into this little box, the reality is a lot of these skills tests, a lot of these other projects and stuff, they test on metrics that if you're hiring hackers are not going to add up. Well, Nigel and his genius brought in a hacker and brought in a great team to support us, and we were able to we do test for skills that other places just don't test, and a lot of people have actually had problems testing because there's just not a platform for them to do that, and I think we mastered that also.
So I think here's a good example. See, just to kind of piggyback on what Higgs said. Higgs, is that your DEF CON badge behind you? Is that what's hanging up?
These are.
Okay, so if I thought it was right behind you, I wanted you to show it to see. I wish I had mine. So check this out. We get to DEF CON and we're checking in, right? And there's this. The badge is like a circuit board, and there's like 4 keys on there, right? With a whole bunch of stuff in there, and even the text on the printed circuit board, they all had meanings. And literally right away, Higgs just like, oh yeah, I know this, and he's just that. And I'm looking at this and I'm saying, like, how is your mind wired this way, right? So, what the game really does, you can see how people solve missions in different ways, right? And not only does it gauge the aptitude, but it also really highlights people with minds like Higgs, the hacker's mentality, right?
Wow.
And then for the people who are new to hacking, it brings in that cyber warfare. It's that fully immersive environment. You get sucked in like, hey, you know what? I'm on a mission, right? And you go out and you solve these problems, and it's based on real world scenarios, right? So with that being said, it's no longer just this cookie cutter or I can just be a script kiddie, right?
Right.
It really gets into the weeds, and and even more so, the most astounding capability of the platform is the ability to essentially create or mimic any network, and then directly port that experience right into the game. So I want you to think about this here, because we got to foot stomp this. The ability to launch either a training environment or a testing environment without the need to stand up an expensive and labor intensive cyber range.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, and you have to, when I say I have a background in network security, I was in sales. Okay. So I knew a lot of great marketing jargon and terms. If I'm hearing you correctly, let's say you have a team, you have a department, right, of security professionals. Could you take Cyber Wraith as an organization? Can I say, hey, we're going to have a game day and play day to help you guys, or help understand where your team's strengths and weaknesses are, to help develop the team stronger and better? Is that a use case that could be applied for Cyber Wraith outside of simply helping people find jobs, which by the way,
absolutely
amazing.
Yeah. So here's a scenario, and so we had this the CTO, the CISO of one bank. He brought in his entire management and C-suite. He bought them pizzas and beer, and they hacked the game on a Friday night. I think he said they started at 6 and they probably left at 2. And that directly improved their security posture, because now, when they had meetings, it wasn't just about, this is just a line item, right? Or,
Right.
It really drills down the importance of cybersecurity and the ways that a lot of organizations are vulnerable. So absolutely, you can definitely do that in terms of what you just described there.
That is hella cool. Well, I was going to say that's got to be, if you're not selling into corporations from a, like, I feel like it's like a team bonding. You could sell as a team bonding, but also team improvement kind of situation. I actually, a friend of mine had shared an article with me on LinkedIn talking about how underprepared IT departments are for security breaches. I guess they did this survey of 180 different companies or departments, and they said they all felt like 58% felt like, yeah, they were more than like sufficient and had great policy, etc. But I'm sorry. They said like 70% felt like they had it down. They were comfortable, 70, 80%. And then when they actually asked the next question was, well, how many of you guys have been hacked or had to pay ransomware or whatever, or been breached? 58% said, yeah, we got breached. So it's kind of like, well, you're not 80% if half of you've been hacked. So like someone's lying somewhere about your, department being, prepared for it. And I think I copied you. I think I copied you both on that article. Can I ask this though, from a security perspective, you mentioned you had a CISO come in and bring in other leaders or other senior level engineers into the space. Were they management people or actual like practitioners?
Oh no, this was his CEO, CFO. This was the C-suite that he brought in.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Because you have to take it like this, right? Like when you think training program, in your mind, you automatically envision a particular application or a particular vehicle you're learning to drive, a particular, that kind of thing. We teach a methodology. Now, the tools and the commands and the attacks and all that stuff you learn, but what you're really learning, and you don't even know you're learning, is we're teaching you how to be observant. We're teaching you how to micro-analyze things and how to get into that hacker mindset. And just as how Nigel says, man, I wish I could understand how you did that, right? Well, that's what our game does. It gets you so you're always thinking like that. And so you pick something up or you interact with something, there's a puzzle there. Your brain is already doing that pre-processing. And we can test on those skills and on those levels. And like I said, it's a great system that we got going on.
Okay, I have to ask, and okay, now you really piqued my curiosity. So how did you get the parameters to know what success is? Or you know what I mean? Like I guess I'm confused on how did you come about it? How did you come about and arriving at the system? And you don't need to tell me the secret sauce, but like, did you go to other consultants to kind of give you guidance and pull the data? Like, how did you guys come about with that from when you were initially like saying, hey, we're going to put Cyber Wraith together? Like, did you have the resources or did you have to find people to help you for that?
No, so our partners, Allison Smith, they're the ones who created the game. What we did was we created all of the triggers for the matching, right? So all of the data science and the analytics behind it. One of the really cool things that I think that they did was they took notable hacks from the last 10 years, right?
Okay.
So if you know these breaches and what would be the outcome of that, right? We want to prevent it, or from a red teaming perspective, you want to be able to execute that, right?
Right.
So we had to essentially ingest all of the game mechanics and then all of the storyline into our algorithm, which does, that's the secret sauce, which then does the matching, right? On top of that, we also have like right now, the way that we are testing for aptitude or even levels of skill level is behavioral triggers, right? And timed base. So I'll tell you this: we had a situation at DEF CON where somebody wasn't happy with their score, and they thought that they should be a lot further ahead. And so we have the ability to dig into the data, right, while they're playing the game, and say, well, hey, you were supposed to complete this piece of content, and this would have given you X amount of points, but you didn't do that. So I mean, we can dig into the on the analytics side pretty deep.
Wow. Okay. I've never heard of anything like this on the market. You've got to be the only ones.
As far as we know right now.
Well, yeah. If anyone does do the market, we may not be the only ones, but we were definitely the first. And
yes,
I mean, yeah. So I mean, anyone else is pretty much like, oh, that's a great idea.
No, I love it. Like
we had some really interesting questions at the booth at DEF CON, right? Some people asking some questions.
Like what? We're doing. You gotta tell me. You can't say that and not tell me.
I mean, they wanted to get into the weeds, man. How did you create the algorithm? And
what's your level? What's your weight? Level weights, and like, okay, well, if I do that, like, level weights. Yeah. So like, let's say you play a particular level. Is that one going to give you more points versus another one? And then why? Right? Like,
oh, Higgs.
Thanks. We lost you again, brother.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, there you go. Sorry, it's the analytical engine stuff, right? They want to know about the how all the weighting system works, as far as if I play this game or this level and I play this level, why do I get more points on this level? Right. Now we've done extensive research. We've mapped missions and the tools and the how that works to like MITRE frameworks and all these other frameworks, NIST, to kind of get an idea. So we know that if you play 11, you're like, oh, I'm gonna play all the easy levels first. Well, there's actually a scientific reason why you're doing that, right? And there's all these background magic stuff that makes the game fun and gives us a realistic something we can turn around and say, look, here's a realistic expectations you should have of yourself, right?
Versus, yeah, that's a really good point. I forgot to mention this. So we have mapped the gameplay to the MITRE attack framework, to the NIST framework, and then also to the cyber kill chain. So
cyber kill chain. You're speaking some language here that is going to have to be dumbed down significantly for me.
I will let Higgs take over that one.
Yeah. So each one of these describe a different thing, right? So, but essentially, they're frameworks for guys like me who have to explain to C-level suites and stuff, different reactionary things. So, for instance, if I say we got hacked by this particular APT, and we got completely owned, well, the C-suite's gonna be like, great, cool. Eventually, somebody's gonna ask the question, well, how do you know that? Right? And so when you map the different things that they do, the different, they pivot all the time. They always use malware and phishing to get in. But these guys only contact and use tools living off the land, whereas this other group uses ones that make their own tools, right? So you have that's how they differentiate for that. And so what we did is we essentially did the same thing. We matched the TTPs and different aspects of these different things. Now, kill chain is simply, you start with recon and you end with lateral movement. And that lets you break up where. And what essentially that does, it allows us to really customize. You come to us and say, look, we got a business or a company or organization or a team, and we want you to to lay out a network and what these types of challenges. All our guys are all full. Say they're all SOC guys, right? They're
Mhm.
monitoring their blue team. They know, but they need some particular tool usage. We can use that to kind of map all that together and then map where they are, what tool usage and training they got. It just makes everybody's job happy.
Oh, it's simple, you guys, but genius ideas.
It was just something that me and Nigel just, we were, I think if I remember correctly, I think we were in his garage, and it was just like, hey man, tomorrow let's do this really good idea. And here we are.
I mean, I love it. Okay, so I want you to remember, I think I said this last time. So when you guys are billionaires and you need someone to ride up into the space for you, just remember me. That's a semi goal that I might have.
We're all going there together, Sia.
We'll high five each other like, woo.
Yep.
You guys, I love you. So I unfortunately we're wrapped. I knew this would go way long. So please, would you guys kindly come back to the mic as listening so we can talk more about this?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so before we leave here, so I want to ask real quickly, how do we get a hold of Cyber Warrior Network? What's the fastest, easiest way to get a hold of you guys?
So social media, CWN Cyber, that's our handle across the board. And check us out at cyberwarriornetwork.com. For anybody who wants to check out the game, they can go on our website, get a free copy of the game, and join our Discord. That's the quickest way to get help from us.
I just want to take the test just to be like at a party one night and be like, okay, who's up for some fun?
It's not even a test. That's the best part. You won't even know. You'll have so much fun. You'll be in 2 to 8 hours. You're having a blast. You're realizing that life is starting to pass you by. You've had kids and they've grown up, and then you'll be like, man, the job offers are coming in. It's just amazing.
It is really, really immersive. It's addictive game. But you get sucked into the actual the environment, and you will love it. Yeah,
I've got to get you connected with like 2 people right now. Legit, I need to get you a hold of, and I'll say Freddie Halstead with the Techie Factory, a great organization. It's to help improve STEAM and STEM and get the kids going early on. Yep. So I could see Saber Wraith being perfect for it. And then Robert Atkins with Balanced Media Technologies. Neither one of them have a podcast, gentlemen. Anyway,
why not?
No pressure.
Why not?
I know, I'm not. But with Balanced Media, and they're both based here in Dallas, but definitely want to make sure I get those introduced to you guys. So I have to do this one part, and on behalf of me, no, but you guys are awesome. I wish you nothing but success and kick ass on your podcast, Cyber Warrior podcast. Thank you so much. So before I let you guys go, I am going to have to give a shout out to, I don't know. Whoops. There we go. Cyber Warrior Podcast. That's the podcast we were talking about today. Isn't that great when I get to cut their heads off? It's awesome. I can hear you guys laughing too, but don't worry about it. And also, don't forget, we're really excited. Really want to thank Ransomware Battleground, another podcast on our network. And it is sponsored by AirGap. And if you want to learn anything about ransomware, Higgs and Nigel have both been guests on it. So definitely hit that up. And actually announcing... launching on Thursday, which is tomorrow, the CISO Diaries. And that is another vanity project that I'm working on. Nice. It's another SIA podcast with my partner, Leah McLean, with Cyber Future Foundation. That is our sponsor. And it's all about the leadership path of all the CISOs that we have today. CISOs, according to Nigel, CISO. We call it CISO. But the just wonderful leadership, because right now more than ever we're finding that the CISOs are getting seats at the C-suite table far more frequently. If you're a tech company, if you're a company, you are a tech company. That's what I've always said. So on that note, everyone, thank you so much for another week. We're long again as usual. I'm crazy like that, but let's go ahead and wrap it up for The Mic is Listening.